You've heard of it, you've played it, and you've won it. A few times. But that's about to change. At the end of this video, we want you to be the ultimate Monopoly tycoon. We'll refresh your memory on the game basics, tell you all about its convoluted history, introduce you to a Monopoly champion like no other, and, most importantly, let you in on his priceless advice.
Later on in the game, if you happen to go to jail, you want to stay there as long as you can.
Monopoly, the quintessential real estate board game that gets us all in a mogul frenzy. The thought of bankrupting your fellow players and building your fortune has been a success for decades, making the game a staple in every household and across multiple generations. You probably already know the basics, but let's do a quick run through to refresh your memory. In a nutshell, you and your fellow players buy properties as you move around the board. When someone lands on your property, they pay you rent. When you land on their property, you pay them rent. Once you acquire a full color set, you can build houses and eventually hotels, and charge even more rent. The last standing player wins the game. Now, some misconceptions. Free parking. It is what it is, just a spot to park for free. You do not get the goodies in the middle. In fact, all income tax and luxury tax should go straight to the bank. Stopped and go? No, you do not get double. Only the usual 200. You can buy properties from the very first round. And if you don't feel like buying the property you landed on, well, you either have to buy it or auction it. No passes allowed, really. Okay, feels like we got the basics in and brushed up on some rules. Now, let's go back in time. The year 1934. The place, Pennsylvania, USA. The inventor, Charles Darrow. At the height of the Great Depression, it is said that Charles, like many Americans, was unemployed. This prompted him to develop the Monopoly board game from his basement. Except that not everyone agrees with that version of history. Evidence suggests that a similar version existed way before, and it wasn't called Monopoly then, and the original inventor was not Charles Darrow. The year, 1903. The place, Washington, D.C., USA. The inventor, Elizabeth Magie, also known as Lizzie Magie. Lizzie was a progressive woman who wanted to create a game that showed the perils of property ownership, especially the inequality between landlords and tenants. Cue in the Landlord's Game. Ironically, unlike today's Monopoly, Lizzie wanted her board game to show that it was better when all players were wealthy. This was her way of criticizing the fierce monopolies of the 1900s. Lizzie patented her work over the years and defended her claim as the inventor. But still, the main credit was attributed to Charles Darrow, who patented his version in 1935. In that year, Monopoly was out and immediately became the best-selling game in America. Streets from Atlantic City populated the first game board, and it wasn't long until other cities made it to print as well. With this, Monopoly champions emerged around the world.
Monopoly to me started probably when I was about 8 or 9 years old. You know, the days before video games and computers, it was just a perfect thing to do. I won the World Monopoly Championship in 1985. Basically, it was a fight to the end. After, I think it was about 2 hours, I managed to bankrupt all the other players. And then I became the outright winner and presented with a Monopoly set with $15,140, which is how much you get in a normal Monopoly set. I retired from about 2 years ago. Prior to that, I was a taxi driver and just basically enjoying retirement at the moment and looking after the Monopoly collection.
Oh yes, because on top of being a champion, Jason also holds an extensive Monopoly collection accumulated over years and years.
So the Monopoly collection itself consists of probably over 400 individual Monopoly sets. So examples of the different Monopolies, the Beatles, Wizard of Oz, Batman, Looney Tunes, Spider-Man. I've probably got board games from over 100 different countries, all in different languages. I know it's by no means the largest Monopoly collection, but I also have the other random items like cups, mugs, anything with a Monopoly logo on, I've probably got in a cupboard somewhere.
I think it's fair to say Jason loves Monopoly. And now, what you've all been waiting for, the priceless tips from our champion that will catapult you into Monopoly victory. Jason, take it away.
Right, so my first tip, pick up as many pieces of property as you can, no matter how big or how small. Probably the favourite set is the orange set, conveniently located for coming out of jail. The most likely number you're likely to throw in dice is 7, which is actually community chest, but the second two numbers would be 6 or 8, which is directly on those two. The set I would tend to avoid getting would be to go around and eventually pick up the green set. The green set is very expensive, and also as you're going around the board, a lot of people never get quite as far as the green set because they end up going to jail. They go to jail space obviously just before the green set. As soon as you've managed to acquire a set, hopefully the orange set, is to get 3 houses on each of the orange sets, and the rate of return works out statistically at the best value for your money. There are only 32 houses in a Monopoly set, and you cannot exceed that number in a game, so it can be quite beneficial if there are lots of properties being developed just to go up to the maximum of 4 houses, because that can act like a blocking tactic, so other people who may have a set may not be able to develop them up to the full potential, may be stuck on 1 or 2 houses on their property. Later on in the game, you don't want to go into jail early on because it stops you going around the board and picking up property. But when the board's looking quite well developed and there's properties on there with houses on that you don't want to land on, if you happen to go to jail, basically you want to stay there as long as you can. And another thing is, whilst you're in jail, you can actually still collect rent. Your money has to be visible on the table, so the other players know you're not cheating or whatever. But you don't necessarily have to have it spread out in front of you like that. You can gather it up into one particular pile. It keeps it sort of more discreet as to exactly what money you're holding. You find that obviously Monopoly attracts lots of different personalities. You get from one extreme somebody who sits very quietly, doesn't say a word, they're never going to have a chance in Monopoly. Or you get the other extreme, where somebody can be a bit arrogant, a bit bullyish, and that tends to not be a good trait either, because you just alienate people. You've got to get on with your fellow player, so you've got to convince that player that, you know, that deal there is really what you need to do. It'll help your game, it'll help my game. So being just kind and nice to other people just seems to be a good tactic.
So, there you go. You got the game basics, the history, and the champion tips. Are you ready to roll the dice?